All right, you guys, this is lesson 6.1, and it's composition of functions is what this is, okay? So f of x minus 1, this is just review. So guys, see this f of x right here that I've highlighted in yellow? All you do is go where you see that x and you replace it with x minus 1. So everybody go 3, and then go parenthesis, x minus 1 plus 4, okay? This is pretty important. Up above there, guys, write down the word simplify. So if you're told to simplify, you have no what in your answer anymore. Do you remember what I told you? No parentheses, yeah. So we're going to simplify this, and I know that it's not simplified right now, okay? So if I distribute my 3, I get 3x minus 3 plus 4. And then that gives me 3x plus 1. That's my answer, and I'm done. That's it. Okay? Question B, you go to this pink g of x. Well, it's yellow, I guess. And right here and right here, where I see an x, I put in x plus h. So I'm just going to go x plus h in parentheses squared plus x, which is now x plus h minus 2. Okay, so I have to put x plus h in here and in here. Some people miss the second one. Tell me with one word what we should do right now. Just one word. And then what are you going to do? You're going to FOIL. You're going to FOIL x plus h times x plus h. And that's x to the second plus 2xh or hx plus h squared. And then you have plus x plus h minus 2. It's super long, and I cannot add any of those terms together. So that's your answer. That's it. All right, you guys. So right here, see this symbol right here? This is important. So look at this. See this guy right here? And this guy right here? They mean exactly the same thing. So this is the one that I think you're going to be better at, the second one. So that's how we're always going to write it. And then underneath that, I want you to write this down. Write down f of g of x. So the way that you read both of those, because it's the same thing, is f of g of x. So f of g of x is different than this. This is a big thing right here. That guy that I just wrote over there that I box, what does that mean, guys? Tell me what that is. That's f of x multiplied by g of x. This is an open circle. So this is different. Okay, so look what we're going to do. Here's question 1a. First of all, I don't like how that's written. So I'm going to write it as f of g of x. It's the same thing. Then I'm going to take this g of x and I'm going to replace it with what g of x is, which is x minus 4. So I'm finding f of x minus 4. And now we're back to what we just did a minute ago. Here's this f of x right here. And right there where I seen x, I'm going to put in x minus 4. So you go 2 times x minus 4 plus 1. Distribute the 2. You get 2x minus 8 plus 1. That gives you 2x minus 7, and that's your answer. You guys, you're not solving. One of the biggest mistakes that people make is they'll then let that equal to 0, and then they get x equals 7/2 as a solution. We're not solving. We're saying, if I put, let's see if you can understand what I'm saying. Listen right here. If I put g of x into f of x, wherever I see an x, what am I going to get? I'm going to say that one more time. If I take g of x and put it into f of x, wherever I see an x, what do I get? That's what I'm doing. Who says I understand what you just said? Okay, great. Let's do this one. So we're going to rewrite this as g of f of x. Take that f of x and replace it with what f of x is. So I'm finding g of 2x plus 1. Then I go into this green g of x and right here where I see an x, I'm going to put in 2x plus 1. So I have 2x plus 1 minus 4. That gives me 2x minus 3. That's my answer, and I'm done. Okay, who says I'm totally good? I get that. I'm great. Okay, good. Let's keep going. F of g of 3. Okay, so this is different. Do you see right here, guys, on A and B? Do you see right here how those are just variables? It's like an x. And now on C and D, I have numbers. Okay, so everybody right here, write down numbers. You go from right to left. So you do it backwards if it's a number, like the 3 and the negative 2. Okay, so let's do question C. Let's find f of g of x. Okay, so f of g of not x, sorry, erase that x and put in a 3. So you're finding f of g of 3. So we're going from the right to the left. So guys, the first thing I want you to do is find g of 3. So everybody go g of 3 equals. And then you go into that green g of x, and wherever you see an x, you put in a 3. So that's just 3 minus 4, and 3 minus 4 is a negative 1. So now look at this. I know that g of 3 is negative 1. So if I wanted to, I could literally replace it. And now, see what I've got there? It tells you what to do next. Now I find f of negative 1. So now I go into that yellow f of x, and wherever I see an x, I put in a negative 1. So that's 2 times negative 1 plus 1. 2 times negative 1 is a negative 2, plus 1 is a negative 1. You only have one answer, and that's your final answer. Okay, let's do the next one. I'm going to say something just because I know I can, and it won't freak you out. That's one way to do it. Does anyone know another way to do it? Go ahead.
Did you put g of x into f of x, and then put 3 in and just solve it?
Yes, so listen what he said. Confusing but correct. Take g of x. It is a compliment. Take g of x, put it into f of x and simplify. Then, wherever you have an x, you put in a 3. He's exactly right. Did I already take g of x and put it into f of x, everybody?
Yes.
I did that. Where did I do that? In part A. So I could also take this guy and just put a 3 in for x. 2 times 3 is 6, 6 minus 1, or 6 minus 7 is negative 1. That's easier, but I don't ever do that because I'm not going to expect you will have already done that. Okay? Okay, so let's do question D, and let's do it the way I think you should do it. Okay, so everybody find f of negative 2. So go into the f of x, which is the yellow, and wherever I see an x, put in a negative 2. So it's 2 times negative 2, which is a negative 4, plus 1 is a negative 3. So guys, f of negative 2 is negative 3. Now we're going to find g of negative 3. So go into that g of x, which is green, and wherever I see an x, replace it. So it's negative 3 minus 4, which is a negative 7. That's my answer, and I'm good. Who says I'm totally good? Got it? Great. Okay, good. Okay, this one right here. Find f of g of x and find g of f of x and find their domains. So the domains is where people get messed up. Okay, draw an arrow, and I want you to write inside and outside. That's why people mess up. Okay, and we'll talk about what that means in just a second. Okay, so let's do question A. So this is f of g of x. So see this g of x? I'm going to replace it with what g of x is. Okay, and what's my g of x? It is the square root of x. So now I'm going to go into this yellow f of x, and wherever I see an x, I'm going to put in the square root of x. So it's the square root of x, and the whole thing is squared. Well, the square root of x squared is x, and that's my answer. Okay, done. Who says I'm with you so far? I'm totally good with that. Okay, now look at the domain. If you look at the answer, I don't have an even root, no even roots on the bottom, no fractions, nothing weird. It looks like it's everything. That's what came out. But you also have to look at what came in. So what I'm talking about, what came in, it's what you plugged in to f of x. So is the domain of the square root of x all real numbers?
No.
No. Here's a good review. It's what? What is the domain of the square root of x, everybody? Greater than. Could it be equal to 0?
Yes.
Yes. So the domain is x must be greater than or equal to 0, and you're done. Okay, let's do the next one. So just remember, inside and outside. Okay, let's do this one. So this is g of f of x. I didn't say this on the last one, and I should have, but do you see how that's an x and not a number? If it were a number, I'd go from right to left. But since it's not, I'm just going to replace it with what f of x is, which is x squared. Now I go into this g of x, which is the green one, and I've got the square root of, but instead of an x, I'm going to put in x squared. The square root of x squared is an x. That's my answer. So I got an x on both of them. The domain on this, what comes out is an x. That domain is all real numbers. What comes in was an x squared. That domain is also all real numbers. So the domain of this guy is all real numbers. Same answer, different domains. Okay, who says gotcha? Let's see up high. Okay, great. Okay, example 3. Find f of g of x and g of f of x and find the domains, and this gets really ugly. I'm just warning you. Okay, let's do the easy one first. Let's do g of f of x. Let's do the easy one first. Everybody has nice confidence and understood, and then I'm going to go to the tougher one. Okay, so see this f of x, replace it with what f of x is. So you're finding g of x plus 3 over x minus 2. Go into this g of x, which is right here, highlighted in green. You guys, listen, and this is important. Do you see that the division bar that's in the g of x? See, it's 1 over. That's the main division bar. So I'm going to make the main division bar very long. So I'm going to go 1 and then a very long division bar. And then underneath, I put my x, which is now x plus 3 over x minus 2. You see how exaggerated that is? Okay, why did I do that? Because this guy right here, that's like the super long one, that's the one I'm going to write as the division symbol. If I didn't write it long, I don't know whether I put this guy as the division symbol or this guy as the division symbol, and it's totally going to change my problem. Who says I understand what you're saying to me? Okay, look at this. This is what I'm talking about. Everybody look right here. That's a train wreck. I don't know if I write it like this, 1 divided by x plus 3 over x minus 2, or 1 over x plus 3 divided by x minus 2, and it totally matters. Who says I get it now? I get, okay, so keep track of that main division bar. And in my opinion, the best way to do that is to make it really long. Okay, now let's do this. So this is going to be 1 divided by x plus 3 over x minus 2, which is going to be 1 over 1 multiplied by x minus 2 over x plus 3. If there's anybody in the room who wants to skip the step of writing it as a division and then a multiplication and flip it, you can skip that step. I tried to teach it one time going straight to the multiplication and not writing the division, and everyone was confused. So that's why I don't skip it. If you want to skip it, skip it. How do you multiply fractions? You multiply the tops together and then the bottoms together. So this is x minus 2 over x plus 3. Can I cancel the x's? Tell me that.
No.
You cannot. Why not? It's rude. Do you remember talking about rude? It's rude. Who is it rude to if I cancel those x's?
-2.
The negative 2 and the positive 3 because you're excluding them. There are 4 people in that answer. There are 4 terms. So if you're going to cancel, you better involve everybody. Okay, find the domain. X cannot be equal to negative 3. That domain is wrong. I need somebody to tell me why it's wrong. Go ahead, honey.
It also needs to be, can't be equal to 2 because we're on the bottom.
Yes. So when you find the domain, guys, you have to look throughout the whole problem. Any denominator. Look at all these denominators that I'm highlighting. All of those are restrictions. Well, one's never going to be a 0. The x plus 3 I already took care of. So now also in addition to that is x cannot be 2. It's a little risky to skip that division because what if you forget to include the 2 as part of your restriction? So anyway, just be aware of that. Okay, that was the easy one. Okay, here's the tougher one. Here we go. This is f of g of x. Take that g of x and replace it with what g of x is, which is 1 over x. So now I'm finding f of 1 over x. See this yellow f of x right there? I'm having issues with my pen. Are we having internet issues, Wi-Fi issues today? Is anyone in their second period? Okay. Sometimes when the Wi-Fi's messed up, my pen glitches on me. Okay, so see those 2 x's right there? Wherever I see those, I'm going to replace those with 1 over x. The main division bar, the long division bar is that guy right there. So I have to be careful, okay? So everybody write 1 over x plus 3. Then a big long division bar. And then 1 over x minus 2. Just answer me out loud. Are you with me so far?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so on the top, I need a common denominator, which is going to be an x. This guy right here already had the x, so I just write 1. The 3 did not have the x, so I have to go 3 times x is 3x. Notice that main division bar's long, right? Now I have to do the same thing on the bottom. Common denominator is going to be an x. The 1 already had the x. The 2 is missing the x. So negative 2 times x is negative 2x. Now I'm going to write that's the toughest part. The rest is like home free, I think. So it's 1 plus 3x over x divided by 1 minus 2x over x. Then change that to a multiplication. So you have 1 plus 3x over x multiplied by x over 1 minus 2x. Don't do anything right here and just watch. I really would love 100% of your attention right here. Okay, look. Don't write this. X plus 3x over x minus 2x squared, and I'm wrong. Probably one of the biggest mistakes right here that people make is right there. That is not right. Because in the previous step, what must I have done? This guy right here, I call him free. He's free to be canceled. Why is he free? Because he's not added or subtracted to anything. This guy down here is also free to be canceled. So if I'm multiplying and I have the same thing on the top and the bottom, I have got to cancel those. So that is not my answer. My answer is 1 plus 3x over 1 minus 2x. I cannot cancel those x's because it would be rude to both of the ones. Who says I'm with you? Raise your hand up. Hi. Okay, let's finish domain and then I'll take questions. So domain, you can tell from that answer that x cannot be equal to a positive 1/2. And if you look throughout the whole problem, another restriction is x cannot be 0. And you are allowed to write it like that with like a cannot be equal to and then just put a comma. Okay? Questions. Go ahead, hon. You have a question? No? Okay. Is everybody good? Okay. Okay, so this thing right here, I don't think you're going to see it. I'm not even going to do it. I'm not even going to do it. That's how sure I am that you're not ever going to see it. Now I need to change your homework. So will you help me remember? Because I've got to cut some problems off. Yes.
You skipped example 4 too.
Oh, thank you. Okay, let's do 4, but I'm not going to do 5. Can you guys remind me to look at your homework and figure out now what to omit? I don't think you're ever going to see 5. I'm not going to do it. I feel like you have enough on your plate right now. Okay, let's do this. So this is f of g of x, and let's do g of f of x. So right here, replace g of x with what it is, which is x over 2 plus 3. By the way, it says show that they're both equal to x. So I know this is going to be an x, and I know this is going to be an x. Now go into this yellow f of x, and where I see an x, put in x over 2 plus 3. So I go 2 parenthesis, x over 2 plus 3 minus 6. Some people think that that is adequate work, and then they say, yay, there's my answer, and that is false, okay? You have to show another step. When you distribute the 2, can anybody tell me what 2 multiplied by x over 2 is equal to? What's that equal to?
X.
Yes, it's an x. The 2's just cancel. And then 2 times 3 is 6 minus 6. Now the 6's cancel, and now you get your x. Okay, let's do the next one. Take this f of x and replace it with what f of x is, which is 2x minus 6. So I have 2x minus 6 over 2 plus 3. Look at the fraction. How many people are in that fraction, everybody?
3.
3. Can 2 go into all those people, all those terms? Yes. So can I reduce it? Yes, I can, because it's not rude to anybody. 2 goes into 2 one time. 2 goes into 6 3 times. 2 goes into 2 one time. I don't need a 1 on the bottom, so I'm going to go plus 3, and then 3 minus 3 goes away. Done. Okay, let's skip that guy. And here we are on 6. 6 and 7, we're almost done. Okay, so I do think there's a pretty good chance question 6 is going to be on your final. I know I haven't gone through and highlighted the things that are going to be on your final, but I think 6 is pretty much going to be there. Okay, it's a little confusing to understand, so you're going to want to listen. Okay, the function c of f is equal to this equation, takes a Fahrenheit and turns it into a Celsius. The next equation takes a Celsius and turns it into a Kelvins. So read the question. Find a function that converts Fahrenheit into Kelvins. So here's what we want, guys. You put in the Fahrenheit and out comes the Kelvins. That's what I want. Okay, and then on the right hand side, I'm going to add just some squiggly lines. And what that means to me is there's going to be other stuff over there, but I definitely have it solved for K, and on the other side I have an F. So it converts Fahrenheit into Kelvins. Okay, all right, everybody write down C of F is equal to 5/9 times F minus 32. And then I want you to write down K of C is equal to C plus 273. Okay, now listen carefully. The way I explain this is, I'm sure, different. It's a little confusing at first to understand, but I think it's better in the long run. I'll always teach you the way I think is going to be the best for you. See this C of F? You guys, if that said C of X, don't change it, but if it did, is equal to 5/9 F minus 32. Does that make sense?
No.
No. So that of whatever is just telling you what variable is on the other side. Who says I understand what you're saying to me? Okay. So see the of F? It's not even necessary. I could literally just get rid of it because it just means here's C, and over on the other side you have an F. Well, I can see that's an F. So I'm just going to write this as C equals. Look at the other guy. K in terms of C, And then you look on the other side and you have a C. Well, I know that that's a C. I can see it. So technically, that of C isn't even necessary. So then what I have is K equals C plus 273. That's basically what those mean, okay? Now look what I'm trying to get. You guys, I'm trying to get K in terms of F. This is just substitution now. Look, this is K in terms of C right here. I didn't mean to scribble that. So K in terms of C, but I know C is that. So it's just a substitution problem. So it's just K equals 5/9 times F minus 32 plus 273. And then this should be in function notation, which means I should write this as K in terms of F is equal to, and there's my answer. And we don't have to simplify that. We're just going to leave it. Okay, look at question B. If it's 80 degrees Kelvins, if it's 80 degrees in Fahrenheit, find your kelvins. So everybody go K of 80 is equal to 5/9 times 80 minus 32 plus 273. So all you have to do is just plug it in. And then grab your calculator and go 5 divided by 9 parenthesis, 80 minus 32, close it off, plus 273, hit enter, and we're going to round it to the nearest whole. So it's 300 and it's Kelvin. You're not supposed to put an S at the end. Okay, question 7. We already talked about this. What is the difference? Okay, people get confused on this. So everybody go F of G of X. And then I'm going to say in F of G of X, comma, plug G of X in for X into F of X. So basically take your F of X, put it into F of X wherever you see an X, okay? And then I'm going to say in F dot G of X, you multiply F of X by G of X. So they are very different. That's a new problem because it came up as an issue before. And question 8 is a new problem. And I do believe that this was on the final last semester. Okay, look at question A. Do you see how it's a number and not a variable? So remember, you go from right to left. So the first thing, guys, I want you to find is G of -3. So look, here's where X is a -3. What is your G of X? A 0. So if X is a -3, then your G of X would be a 0. So G of -3 is a 0. Now you find F of 0. Okay, so we're not looking there anymore. We're looking here. So again, the 0 is an X value. What would your F of X be? It would be a 6. That's my answer, and it's my only answer. Okay, let's do the next one. Okay, first thing we're going to do is find F of -4. So the -4, guys, is an X value. What is your F of X? It's a -2. So F of -4 is -2. Now you find G of -2. So now you're looking at a different column, you guys. You're looking here. The X value is a -2. What's your G of X? -1. You have only one answer, and it's just that answer. Who says got it? Let's see. Okay, you do the next one by yourself. Okay, I'm going to do it. Here's your -2. What's your G of X? -1. So G of -2 is a -1. So now I'm going to find G of -1. So now I'm not looking at that purple stuff anymore. I'm looking right there at that pink stuff because the X is a -1. What's your G of X? -2. That's my answer. Who says I got it? Let's see. Okay, awesome. Okay, take out a blank piece of paper and let's look at those corrections, okay?